Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. If Xi Jinping is like the CEO of a giant enterprise, the Belt and Road Initiative could be his biggest career gamble. It is his flagship development project. Xi Jinping has approached BRI like a venture capitalist, placing hefty bets across the world, pouring billions of dollars in infrastructure projects. One of his biggest investments is in Pakistan, and that investment is failing. We're talking about the Gwadar port. It is lying empty. It rarely sees any ship activity almost for the whole year. Tonight we'll tell you how China's Gwadar project is faltering. Meanwhile, the artificial intelligence war is heating up. Google has unveiled major upgrades. Google search is changing. We'll tell you what's new. The IMF is worried that these rapid advances in AI could lead to major job losses. In the US, Joe Biden's Israel policy has sparked confusion. After blocking arms shipments last week, Washington has dispatched a $1 billion military package. Hamas could be planning a new base in Turkey. That's according to secret documents that the IDF has found. A leak has revealed the notorious residents of Dubai, or people who own property. And can a company own a color? A legal battle is brewing between two major skincare brands in India. We'll tell you all about it. The headlines first. Slovakia's prime minister shot multiple times. The assassination attempt took place after a government meeting. The 59-year-old populist leader is reported to be critical. Last year, Kremlin-friendly Robert Fico became Slovakia's prime minister for the third time. The suspected gunman has been detained. Russia advances in both North and South Ukraine. Kiev sends reinforcements to defend the Kharkiv region. Just days ago, Moscow had launched a major ground offensive. Ukrainian President Zelensky cancels all his upcoming international trips. The US announces fresh military aid for Kiev. In India, the Modi government hands over citizenship certificates to 14 applicants. It's the first set of documents to be given under the Citizenship Amendment Act, or CAA. In December 2019, Parliament had passed this controversial citizenship law. In March this year, the central government had notified the rules. Former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan gets bail in a land corruption case, but the PTI founder will remain in jail as he is still serving his sentences in other cases. Last week, Imran Khan was indicted on charges that he was gifted land by a real estate developer in exchange for illegal favors. Climate change is not only displacing people but also cities. Thailand could soon be forced to move its capital. Low-lying Bangkok risks being inundated before the end of the century. This year, Indonesia will inaugurate a new capital to replace sinking Jakarta. And Iran will switch to a Friday to Saturday weekend. Its parliament also approves a 40-hour working week. This will replace the existing 44-hour work week, with Friday being the only full day off. The legislation now needs the approval of the Guardian Council. Our lead tonight is about the biggest startup in geopolitics, China's Belt and Road Initiative, and its hero product, the Gwadar port in Pakistan. It is dying a slow death. Gwadar is part of CPEC, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC. It's a classic cautionary tale, also the story of many startups. It begins with a burst of enthusiasm and a large inflow of investments. But there's no sustainable revenue model and rampant mismanagement. So soon it starts bleeding and then goes bust. That's exactly what's happening with CPEC. The project is going bust and China is trying to cut its losses. Again, starting with the Gwadar port. It was launched almost a decade back. In all these years, it hasn't turned a profit. Forget profit. It's not being able to deliver on the basics, like receiving ships and moving cargo. Gwadar is failing to do any of this. It's the worst performing out of all of China's port investments. In fact, let me show you this list. These are all the major ports controlled by China. And the number of arrivals that they registered in 2023. Hambantota in Sri Lanka tops this list with more than 400 arrivals last year. Kribi in Cameroon is second with more than 200 arrivals. Lekki in Nigeria received 26 vessels. And finally, we have Pakistan's Gwadar port, where just 17 vessels docked in 2023. And this trend is not unique to last year. It's been like that for years. Since 2016, Gwadar has been at the bottom of this chart. It has received less than 30 ships every year. It is a flop show. It was launched with tall promises. Both Pakistan and China claimed that this port will transform Gwadar. They said Gwadar will become the next Dubai. Needless to say, it hasn't. But the Pakistani leadership continues peddling lies. Last year, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said they're expanding Chinese investments.
Now we are entering the second phase of CPEC, which is even more interesting and extremely helpful in promoting investments, progress and prosperity in Pakistan and also in the region.
Investments, progress and prosperity. Pakistan is yet to see any of this. You may ask why. Why did Gwadar fail? For starters, the execution was not right. The success of the project rested on the arrival of ships. But there's a practical problem with Gwadar. It lacks the requisite support infrastructure. China invested over $1 billion into the Gwadar port, but building a port is not enough. You need better connectivity around the port. You need roads, you need highways and railway lines. China was supposed to give additional funds for all of these, but that money never came. So the Gwadar port receives no traffic. There's no point sending a ship there. The second problem is poor management. Pakistan is one of the most unstable countries in the world, especially politically. No civilian has completed a full term as Pakistan's leader, ever. The military runs this country. It interferes in policy making, in every field, but more so in defense and foreign policy. They effectively dictate the terms of engagement in these two domains, defense and foreign policy. And China trusted these leaders with a multi-billion-dollar project. No wonder it failed. Gwadar in particular and CPEC in general remains mired in chaos. Corruption is rampant. This is according to Chinese officials themselves. They say 80% of CPEC investments are lost. 80% are lost due to corruption and leakages. But the biggest reason why Gwadar failed is this. It has no viable business model. China struck a lopsided deal with Pakistan. China takes 90% of the port revenues, the Pakistan government gets the remaining 10%, and the local government in Gwadar gets nothing. So this deal is a big source of tension. There's a local uprising of sorts against the Chinese port. The people of Gwadar believe that China is looting their wealth, so they keep launching attacks on Chinese assets. They keep targeting Chinese investments and workers. The Gwadar port, in fact, was hit only 2 months back. 8 militants tried to storm the Port Authority complex. They crashed a car filled with explosives into the gate of the complex. 5 security personnel died in that attack. In the past, Chinese lives have been lost in similar attacks. So China has been pulling up Pakistan, demanding better security around Chinese investments and increased protection for Chinese nationals. But time and again, Islamabad has fallen short of Beijing's expectations. So there are problems across the board. The project is leaking cash. It remains incomplete and unsustainable. There is hostility from the locals and rising security concerns. A professional entrepreneur would have exited by now. They would have folded up the venture, but China cannot afford to do that. Shutting down the Gwadar project or CPEC won't be good optics. It would generate bad press for Xi Jinping's already failing flagship initiative. And Beijing wouldn't want to alienate a submissive ally like Islamabad. So Chinese investments in Pakistan will continue, even if Beijing scales back some of its commitments. Last year, Google celebrated its 25th birthday. CEO Sundar Pichai wrote a letter to his employees. The tone was optimistic. The tech giant was 25 years old. It could go on for another 25. And for the journey ahead, there's one idea or motive that came up repeatedly. Artificial intelligence. Sundar Pichai mentioned AI more than 20 times in his letter, so the message was quite clear. Google won't lose the AI race. But will it win the AI war? We ask because it is a war now. Yesterday, we told you about OpenAI. They've launched their new AI model. It's called GPT-4o. It can do a whole lot of things: solve maths equations, talk to your pets, and even flirt with you. It created a lot of buzz, and it set the bar high for its competitors. Now, barely 24 hours later, Google has shown its wares at its annual developer conference. Usually, it's one of those things that make you snooze, but this one was different. Imagine rainbow-colored robes and the mention of AI at least 121 times. It's what Silicon Valley calls a party. A lot of announcements were made there, almost too many to keep track of, but here's a quick rundown. The first was about Google Search. It's the big headliner. The search is how this company started. It's what made Google what it is, the Google Search. If you want to know something, you Google it. You need any answer, you hop onto Google. Google has become synonymous with search, but now they want to change it. They want to overhaul the search engine by using artificial intelligence. Last year, Google called AI the future of search. Now they're rolling out that future. It's called the AI Overview. And what does it do? Right now, when you search for something on Google, you get tons of results and you sift through them. You click on some links, you read through a few of them, you discard the irrelevant links. And this is how you put together the information that you need. This is how you search on Google. The new search engine will change all of it. It will make the process easier. You look for something and Google's AI model will go through the results. It will make a summary of the relevant stuff for you, and that summary will appear on top of the search results. Basically, it will give you a gist of the answer that you're looking for, plus links to more information in case you need it. And you don't even have to type what you're searching for. You can record a video, you can take a picture, or just speak. The AI model will figure out what you're asking for. Of course, there's a catch. Not every search needs AI. I'll give an example. Imagine looking for firstpost.com. It's a pretty straightforward search. You type firstpost.com and it takes you to the web page. You don't need AI for that. And that's where Google is trying to strike a balance. Not every answer will have a review. Regardless, your Google search is getting an AI twist. Will it change the way we search? Most certainly. But will it be better? Well, we don't know that. The second offering is Veo. It's Google's video generation tool. It can create videos based on prompts, much like OpenAI's Sora. The third is a new AI model. It's called Gemini 1.5 Flash. It's as powerful as the old one, but also faster. Fourth on the list is smarter Android devices. They'll be able to detect scam calls, offer you information, ingest PDFs, basically do the whole deal. And then they announced their new project called Astra. It's a multimodal AI assistant. If you think you've heard of this before, you're not wrong. OpenAI just released a similar model, a multimodal AI assistant. But the Google one is a bit different. You switch on your camera, you let it scan the room, and then you ask the AI model questions. It's like a virtual assistant. It can even tell you where you kept your glasses.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AES-CBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
Sounds like quite a useful feature. I know people who could use it. But jokes aside, this is a very exciting phase. Technology is changing rapidly. It is transforming our lives, and it will be messy. 2 years ago, all of this sounded like science fiction. Today, it's a reality. In 2 days, we've had 2 major AI launches, personal assistants, video tools, an AI-powered search engine, all of it for free. And that should put us on our guard, because when big tech offers something for free, it is extracting a hidden price from us. And it's all happening so fast and in such an unregulated space that it will be a while before we fathom it. With every AI leap comes the same question: will it take over our jobs? This time, the chief of the International Monetary Fund has weighed in, and she says yes, AI will affect the job market. In fact, she painted a more worrying picture. The IMF chief said AI will hit the job market like a tsunami. Interesting choice of words. A tsunami destroys everything. It wipes out buildings and people. Is that what AI will do to the job market? Well, the IMF chief had some numbers. In the next 2 years, AI could affect 60% jobs in the developed world and overall 40% worldwide. Now, these numbers are worrying, not just because of how high they are, but also because of the time frame, 2 years. It's hardly any time in the job market. So we need to prepare fast. Listen to what the IMF chief has said. I'm quoting, "We have very little time to get people and businesses ready for it. AI can boost how much we produce and make things more efficient, but it also might increase false information and make income gaps wider." That's what she said. There are 3 points or takeaways from this. First of all, it's not all bad. The IMF says 60% jobs will be affected, but affected does not mean replaced. In half of these cases, AI will improve your productivity. It will make your job easier. And not to mention, create new jobs. The AI revolution will generate over 97 million new jobs, which brings us to the second takeaway. Yes, some jobs will be lost. Goldman Sachs made a prediction last year. They think that AI will replace 300 million full-time jobs. You can guess some of them, like coding. Top AI models can write complicated codes. They're also much faster than humans. Another example is customer service, like call centers or chat support. The new AI models can hold a conversation, so they can definitely troubleshoot your problems. Again, much faster than humans. The CEO of TCS has a dire warning. He says AI could kill Indian call centers in a year. Same with tutors. ChatGPT released a demo yesterday. It showed the AI model teaching mathematics. You can ask questions, you can draw diagrams and figures, even make question papers. A lot of teachers already use ChatGPT. A professor in Virginia actively encourages her students to do that. She says ChatGPT can be a persona, a debate partner for some, a job recruiter for others. So right now, AI is making teachers more productive, but how long before it takes over the job or diminishes it? And that's the third point. AI could increase inequality. Let me explain how. Consider the coding example. Before AI, you needed humans to write the whole thing. But now ChatGPT can do it. You just need the human to verify it. You see the problem here. Coding pays a lot of money, but verifying does not. So AI could drastically reduce wages in some jobs. It can eventually widen the wage gap. And this applies even to countries. Wealthier countries will adapt to AI more quickly. They will have more money. They do have more money, so they can invest a lot more in AI. But poorer countries cannot do that. And this may lead to a technology and wage gap. So to recap, there are 3 factors at play. Some new jobs being created, a lot of jobs being lost, and a new trigger for financial inequality. Broadly, this is how artificial intelligence will affect the job market. The question is, how can you prepare for it? Well, time is of the essence. AI is moving much faster than expected. So if you're already in the job market, your brief is quite simple. Start using AI tools. Find some way to integrate it. Use it to gain an edge over your peers. But what if you are not in the workforce yet? Then put your thinking cap on. We said that AI will create 97 million new jobs. Find out what they are. The World Economic Forum has listed a few examples like AI trainers, people who make and design these models, or data curators, people who gather data to train these models, or ethics officers, people who act as a moral compass for AI models, or even AI content creators, people who explain how everything works. These are all new and emerging jobs. The key is to find and prepare for them. And like I said, do it fast. ChatGPT came out in late 2022. We thought that was revolutionary. But in less than 2 years, it has gone further ahead. They can identify items in your surroundings, do your shopping for you, conduct interviews for you, even tutor your children. So imagine what the next generation will be like. I guess the IMF chief's assessment is quite accurate. AI is like a tsunami heading for the job market. We've got the warning. We can see the big waves. It's now time to prepare for it. I guess that's enough tech news for one show. Let's turn back to geopolitics, to what's happening in Gaza. Last week, Joe Biden drew a red line for Israel. He said, do not invade Rafah. For good measure, he also paused a military shipment. He withheld a few bombs. Many thought it signaled a change in attitude. Maybe Joe Biden would stop aiding Israel's ruthless war. Well, think again. Biden is pushing another military package for Israel. It's worth almost $1 billion. The US government has already notified the Congress. Pretty soon it will be approved. Now, this package has 3 main items. Tank munitions worth $700 million. Tactical vehicles worth $500 million. And mortar rounds worth $60 million. American officials say it's not an immediate shipment, it's a long-term commitment, meaning that these items will be delivered over many years. But what about the timing? Last Wednesday, Biden announced that he was pausing one military shipment. Exactly 1 week later, he does this. So what should the world make of it? Is Biden supporting Israel's war or is he not? His national security advisor tried to explain the president's position. This is what he said.
We do not believe what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. We have been firmly on record rejecting that proposition. We have paused the shipment of 2,000-pound bombs because we do not believe they should be dropped in densely populated cities.
How about that? Dropping bombs on cities is not okay, but somehow firing from tanks is totally fine. Is that what Washington is saying? As we speak, Israeli tanks are pushing deeper into Rafah. They've reached the residential area, so the locals are fleeing. Around 450,000 Gazans have fled Rafah. Many more live in the city's north. So catastrophe is imminent. Yet what does Joe Biden do? Give more weapons to Israel. It shows you his double standards. Last week, the US government published an important report. It probed Israel's use of American weapons. And what did the report find? That the use was, quote-unquote, inconsistent with international law. And the wording is pretty interesting. You either follow the law or you don't. How can it be inconsistent? I presume that means Israel did not follow the law. Yet Biden is giving more weapons. What does that tell you? His attitude has not changed. Pausing that one shipment was not about holding Israel back. It was about appeasing his vote bank. We saw the college protests over the last few weeks that forced Biden to act. But now he's gone back to default. Because the protests are scaling down. It's graduation season in the US, in American colleges. Students are busy celebrating and packing up. We've seen some protests during the graduation events, but overall the tempo is down. In some colleges, the encampments have also been taken down. Plus, Joe Biden is under immense pressure from his rivals. Jewish groups have criticized his move. So have the Republicans. They're pushing a new law that would force Biden to unfreeze the arms shipment, to basically give Israel more bombs. Biden has said that he will veto such a bill. But it tells you how much pressure the president is under. The question is, how will his flip-flops affect the war in Gaza? Will they change Israel's strategy? Well, they haven't so far. Israel continues to pound Rafah with airstrikes. They claim around 80 Hamas targets were hit. The ground operations also continue. Both Israel and Hamas have released footage of the urban warfare. It's almost like a video game. Take a look at this. To make matters worse, aid is drying out. The Rafah crossing has been shut, so most of the aid is coming from the north, but the journey is dangerous. Let me show you pictures from the West Bank. Aid trucks were ready to head out, but Israeli protesters blocked them. They threw out food packets meant for Gazans. Elsewhere in the West Bank, food trucks were destroyed in a fire. It is still not clear what caused the fire. The US has an opinion on this too. They say the aid shipments were not enough. And honestly, it sums up their policy. The Americans keep drawing red lines for Israel. Do not attack Rafah. Do not stop the aid. Do not invade without a plan. Do not target civilians. But in the end, they keep sending weapons. I know Israel is pulling the trigger, but Joe Biden too is equally complicit. And staying with the war, let's take a look at the other side, at Hamas. It's apparently planning to expand and to build bases in another country. Which one? Turkey. A new report has come out. It quotes the Israeli military. That's the only source, the Israeli military. They're said to have found secret documents in a Hamas leader's house. The leader is Yahya Sinwar. The house belongs to his chief of staff. Yahya Sinwar is the alleged mastermind behind the October 7th attack on Israel. Now, the Israeli Defense Force says it went into this house and found secret documents, including plans for a Turkish base for Hamas. This has not been verified independently. The report does not claim to verify it either. It only says that the secret documents were seen. And what was in them? What did they say? Well, the documents paint a picture of Hamas under pressure from Gaza, that they were quote-unquote, on the defensive because of Israel's efforts over the past decade. This is why Hamas was planning to set up foreign bases. They were to be used for quote-unquote, special operations, like kidnapping, sabotage, and assassinations. Their targets were to be Mossad agents and influential Israelis. Mossad is Israel's intelligence service, like the American CIA. Apparently, Hamas wanted to target Mossad agents from a base in Turkey. And that's not all. The secret documents go into details about the potential base, about who would be stationed there and how would it be funded. The only thing that doesn't seem to be mentioned is if the plan succeeded. Did they end up building this base? We don't know. No dates are mentioned, in fact. So we don't know when this plan was hatched. If it was before or after October 7th, it's not clear. Or if Hamas went ahead with this Turkish expansion. As of now, we are just told that an expansion plan exists. Now, with this in mind, let's look at Turkey. Why that country of all places? Why Turkey? After all, there are closer options for Hamas, like Egypt or Lebanon or even Jordan. Why Turkey then? Well, it could be because of this.
I never see Hamas as a terrorist organization, and as of this moment, I follow Hamas step by step. And in my country right now, more than 1,000 Hamas members are in our hospitals, all of them undergoing treatment.
That was Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He addressed a press conference on Monday, and it looks like he let the cat out of the bag. He said 1,000 Hamas members are being treated in Turkish hospitals. The statement was later retracted. A Turkish official said Erdogan, and I'm quoting, misspoke, that he was talking about Palestinians in general and not Hamas members, but the damage was already done. Now add to this the new report about Hamas bases in Turkey. What does it sound like? Everything seems to be pointing towards Turkish complicity. Ankara already works with Hamas, by the way. We know this for a fact. It has allowed the group's political wing to set up offices in Turkey, but that was supposed to have been it. Only offices, not bases. But the new report directly contradicts it. It is alluding to a scandalous situation where Hamas may be launching attacks from Turkey. Turkey, which is a NATO member. How will the rest of NATO react to this information? Will the West take the Israeli military seriously? It seems Erdogan thinks they might, because the Turkish president made a surprising statement today. He said Israel has, and I'm quoting again, Israel has set its sights on Turkish territory. And he said Hamas was his country's forward line defense. Both the statement and the timing seem suspicious. Why would he say this a day after the report? Is this just rhetoric to fire up his base, or does Erdogan really have something to hide? Hopefully all this will be cleared soon. Our next story is about the United Kingdom, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, a so-called world power, though increasingly the UK is looking like a tug in the world of geopolitics. This country has a long history of colonial atrocities, which they refuse to apologize for. They have museums filled with colonial loot, which they refuse to return, and now they have a new feather in their cap. London has become the dirty money capital of the world. We are not the ones saying this. Britain's very own Deputy Foreign Secretary has made a rare admission. He says nearly 40% of the world's dirty money goes through London. Here's our report.
Belgravia, Knightsbridge and Mayfair. 3 of London's wealthiest districts in Westminster. Buying a home there means you have arrived in life. But you may also find yourself living next to a Russian neighbor. It is often called Westminster's dirty secret. Russia and the United Kingdom share an adversarial relationship, but wealthy Russians have a fondness for the City of London. They are among the biggest buyers of luxury properties there. Rich Russians have bought over $500 million worth of properties in Westminster alone. Why are Russians drawn to London? The reason goes beyond the city's appeal. For years now, Russians have used London as a washing machine to clean their dirty money. One of the easiest ways to do that is to buy a really expensive property. The purchase brings a host of benefits.
London, and the United Kingdom more generally, became an absolute pole of attraction for Russian businessmen who had made a great deal of money out of the disintegration of the old Soviet Union, often, one has to say, in some very dubious circumstances by Western standards, to come to this country because they found it a pleasant place to do business, a pleasant place to invest, and in many cases a very pleasant place to live and indeed educate their children.
The Russian oligarchs have been investing in London for decades now. In recent years, more people have followed this Russian model. Andrew Mitchell is UK's Deputy Foreign Secretary. He claims nearly 40% of the world's black money is being cleaned by London. Mitchell revealed this cash is often stolen from developing countries and regions like Africa, often by corrupt businessmen, politicians, and warlords. They funnel this cash into London from tax havens like British Virgin and Cayman Islands. So when it reaches a British bank account, the money appears squeaky clean. Till 2022, more than $125 billion worth of questionable money was coming to the UK every year. At one point, the government was even rewarding these questionable investors with golden visas. That scheme has been abolished now. The British government has tried to make changes and turn off the dirty money tap. But London has failed to make any substantial progress. The checks and balances in the current form lack teeth, and in some cases, the UK has given refuge to not just the black money, but also to the individuals who embezzle it. Case in point, Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi, 2 prominent Indian businessmen accused of stealing money from India to the tune of millions of dollars. New Delhi has declared both Mallya and Modi fugitive economic offenders. India has been pursuing their extradition for years now. So far, there hasn't been much headway in either case. And if the British government keeps dragging its heels, The financial fugitives will keep exploiting the London loophole to their advantage.
Speaking of dirty money, here's another case. A few years back, a meme was going viral on social media. It was mostly a Dubai thing. People living there would show off their life. Great cars, great houses, and great clothes. In the end, would come a signature sign-off. They would say, Habibi, come to Dubai. I guess it worked, because that's exactly what has happened. A data leak shows that a lot of people did go to Dubai. Politicians, businessmen, sanctioned oligarchs, celebrities, defense contractors, even terror financiers. All of them have bought property in Dubai. How do we know this? Thanks to a data leak from the UAE. It covers a time period between 2020 and 2022. The data was shared with a Norwegian media outlet. They in turn collaborated with 70 plus news agencies, and together they produced this, Dubai Unlocked. Let's meet some of the notorious residents. Obaid Khanani has a property in Palm Jumeirah. He's a Pakistani national sanctioned by the US in 2016 for laundering money for drug cartels and gangs. Another resident is Joseph Johannes Leideckers, aka Chubby Joes. Don't fall for the cute nickname though. Dutch authorities say he's a major player in the global cocaine trade. A third example is Salam Shebani. He once featured in Europe's most wanted list. Today he's in a Swedish prison. The charges range from murder to fraud. Amid all of this, you have Pakistani politicians. Former President Pervez Musharraf had property in Dubai. So does the current President Asif Ali Zardari. 3 of his children have houses in Dubai. Bilawal Bhutto, the former Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Bakhtawar Bhutto and Asifa Bhutto. 2 of them are members of Pakistan's parliament, so you can imagine the reaction. Questions are being asked of the Bhuttos. Did they buy this property to evade taxes? And if so, they're not alone. There are 17,000 Pakistani owners in Dubai. Put together, they own 23,000 properties. Pakistan is second on the list of foreign owners. And guess who's first? Indians. There are more than 29,000 Indian owners in Dubai. They own 35,000 properties. Put together, it's worth almost $17 billion. Among them is Nirav Modi, the fugitive Indian businessman. He owns 3 properties in Dubai. Now, all of this raises a couple of questions. 1, why Dubai? And 2, why criminals and drug lords? Both answers are linked to each other. Real estate is a key part of Dubai's economy. It makes up almost 9% of their economy. Dubai is expected to deliver more than 34,000 houses this year, so the supply is huge. Chances are foreigners will snap up most of it. And a big reason for that is taxes. The UAE doesn't have any. If you live in Dubai, you don't have to pay income tax. So a lot of people stash their money there, away from the tax man. Plus, the UAE does not impose Western sanctions. Say you're a Russian oligarch or a sanctioned African businessman, you can't invest in Europe. You can't invest in North America, but you can invest in the UAE. Until recently, they had very few extradition treaties. So it's the ideal place to lie low, far away from Western law enforcement. And finally, the buying process is quite simple. Paying in cryptocurrency, no problem. Paying in bags of cash, again, no problem. The Dubai property regulators are quite lenient. They don't bother with background checks, it seems. Also, once you buy, your records are safe. Only a leak like this one will reveal your purchase. So Dubai checks all the boxes for a shady buyer. Secrecy, lack of background checks, no taxes, no Western sanctions, and the warm West Asian sun. I know the idea of drug lords bathing in the Dubai sun is borderline funny, but it's also risky. We're talking about dangerous people. Shouldn't Dubai be cracking down on them? Well, they say they are. The UAE says they are cracking down. One official, in fact, has rubbished this leaked report. He said the UAE takes the integrity of the global economy very seriously. So questions must also be asked of the watchdogs. One of them is the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force. In February, they removed the UAE from their grey list. But months later, this report emerges. Not a good look, is it? Especially for a country like the UAE, they have big plans lined up. They want to be a financial and technological hub. But for that, you must also be transparent. The UAE will have to come clean about these leaks. Our next story is from Singapore. The country got a new prime minister today, just their 4th since their independence. Lawrence Wong. He succeeded Lee Hsien Loong as Prime Minister. Lee has stepped down after 20 years. It was a planned change of guard and long in the works. The succession date was fixed last month, but Wong was tapped back in 2022. He's been preparing to take over for years. So who is Lawrence Wong? The man chosen to lead Singapore, to take charge of one of Asia's financial hubs. How did he rise to power, and what does he plan to do next? Our next report has the details.
That guitar player is none other than Singapore's new Prime Minister, Lawrence Wong. When he's not busy jamming, he will be working to ensure that Singapore's success story strums along. He will be Singapore's first Prime Minister born after the island became independent. Wong is 51 years old. He grew up in a Singapore that was transforming from a British colony into a financial powerhouse. Wong grew up in public housing. He studied at a school where his mother was a teacher. His father was a salesperson. So you might say that Wong's rise is a tribute to Singapore, a boy from a humble background becoming Prime Minister. After school, Wong studied economics in the United States. He went there on a scholarship. Wong went on to get a master's degree in applied economics. In 2004, he got a second master's in public administration from Harvard University. But Wong had already begun working by then. He was in Singapore's civil service, working as an economist. So, an economist and former civil servant is now Singapore's new Prime Minister. He's around the same age his predecessor was when he took charge. That's Lee Hsien Loong, the outgoing Prime Minister of Singapore. He served as PM for 20 years since 2004, and now he's passing on the baton. Wong has had Lee's confidence for years, even before he officially joined politics. Between 2005 and 2008, Wong was Lee's principal private secretary. In 2011, Wong left Singapore's civil service and joined politics. He won his first election and was made Minister of State for Defence and Minister of State for Education. Wong also served on the board of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is Singapore's central bank. Over the years, Wong served as Culture Minister, Development Minister, and then Finance Minister. The wealth of experience has led to this moment, Wong taking oath as Singapore's Prime Minister.
I, Lawrence Wong, having been appointed to the office of Prime Minister, do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Republic of Singapore, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Singapore. So help me God.
Wong will be both Prime Minister and Finance Minister. It all adds up considering his background and experience. Lee Hsien Loong also held both portfolios when he took charge, and this isn't the only tradition that's being followed. Former Prime Minister Lee is not stepping away entirely. He will remain in the cabinet as a senior minister of Singapore. All of Singapore's outgoing prime ministers have taken this post. It ensures continuity in policy. So don't expect too much to change in the island nation. Wong will retain Lee's cabinet, at least until the next general election. That should take place by November 2025. The next election will be a litmus test. We know that the outgoing Prime Minister trusts Wong, but what about the people of Singapore? Today's choreographed transition gives Wong some time and political security. But to truly become a legitimate head of government, Wong has to win a general election on his own. Well, we'll find out next year if Wong can get Singapore humming to his tunes.
Our next story comes from the Indian state of Rajasthan, where a toddler's life has been saved thanks to his doctors and his family. But also an actor, a cricketer, vegetable vendors, shopkeepers, and several other people. This is the story of Hridayan Sharma. He's 22 months old and he suffers from a rare genetic disorder called spinal muscular atrophy, where the patient cannot control their muscles. The child had lost nearly all bodily function below the waist. His life was under threat. The condition could be treated though. All he needed was an injection. But two problems stood in the way. First, there was a strict deadline to give this injection, and second, it was very expensive. This jab was worth 17.5 crore rupees. That's more than $2 million. The child's family could not afford it. So they started a crowdfunding campaign. In other words, a drive to raise money from a large group of people. The campaign garnered immense traction. It was widely shared on social media. And within 3 months, the family raised 9 crore rupees, which is about $1 million. Now, the boy has been given the injection. His life has been saved. The remaining amount, which is close to $1 million, needs to be deposited within a year. Many are hopeful that crowdfunding will bear fruit again. But this is a big win in itself, not just for the toddler, but also for millions who depend on crowdfunding the world over. This concept, the concept of crowdfunding, is not new. In its most basic form, it refers to gathering money or small gifts to help someone. And people have done it for generations. But online crowdfunding picked up just about a decade ago. It started with a handful of websites prompting pet projects or small causes, promoting rather pet projects or small causes. Today, there are over 1,000 crowdfunding websites. The global crowdfunding market is worth more than $1 billion. In India, the number is estimated at $5 million. Crowdfunding platforms have raised tens of billions of dollars globally. Take GoFundMe, for example. It's one of the market leaders. It was launched in the year 2010, and since then it has generated $30 billion. 150 million people have reportedly sent or received money through this platform. Crowdfunding is an incredibly powerful tool. It can build communities, raise funds in desperate times, and help spread messages to a wider audience. So why do people use crowdfunding? Healthcare funding is one of the primary reasons. Take Milap, for example. Milap is an Indian crowdfunding platform. It has raised a total of $275 million, and 80% of that amount has funded medical treatment. But that's not all. From financial apps to fidget cubes, many products trace their roots back to crowdfunding. To put it simply, crowdfunding is used for all kinds of causes: to save museums, to survive wars, to rebuild cities, even to help Donald Trump, even to remove forehead tattoos. People pick a cause that they care about and donate money for it. So far, so good. But only if your campaign is successful. And there is no guarantee of it. The average success rate of crowdfunding is just about 20%. For starters, how you design your campaign matters. A single spelling error reduces chances of funding success by 13%. Secondly, research proves that crowdfunding usually benefits the wealthy rather than those who really need it. Because the wealthy have larger social networks and they know more people with money. What's more, crowdfunding does not bring overnight success.
When someone tells you that you've got no water and you're out there fundraising on the internet for a month or two, that takes a lot of time. So that is the biggest difficulty. And really, when you promise a village a well, there's a lot of hope and a lot of expectation on the part of the people who are waiting. So we have to be a little faster in the process and look for the means to make this well.
And worst of all, like most things internet, there are regulation problems here. There have been numerous cases of terror funding, also scams or frauds. Usually, most platforms run a background check. They ask for necessary documents before starting a funding campaign, but it is easy for people to slip through the cracks. Sometimes treatments conclude, but fundraising goes on. Or a large sum of money is raised for smaller surgeries. Sometimes the roles are reversed as well. Crowdfunding platforms charge hidden fees. So there are major transparency issues. In most countries, crowdfunding platforms are governed by authorities, but they don't have a specific regulator. There is no set framework. There are few requirements to disclose procedures, fee structures, and safeguarding mechanisms. So there is a lack of accountability. That being said, crowdfunding is increasingly becoming a part of the mainstream. So if you choose to participate, be careful, do your research, because if all goes well, lives could indeed be saved. Can a company own a color? Ask Nivea, and they would say yes. The signature blue packaging is iconic. So much so, it has led to a legal battle. Pond's and Nivea are battling it out in court. These are two of India's most popular moisturizer brands. So what's the battle about? Well, a range of issues, from oil content to unfair market practices, and even the color blue. Who won this legal fight? Our next report tells you.
It began in 2021. Beiersdorf AG took Hindustan Unilever Limited to court. For those who don't know, Beiersdorf AG manufactures Nivea creams. Hindustan Unilever Limited manufactures Pond's. These are two of India's most popular moisturizer brands. Millions use them every day. So why are they battling it out in court? The answer is unfair market practices. Beiersdorf AG alleged that Pond's salespersons were engaged in unfair market practices. How? First, they would approach a customer. Then they would apply Nivea cream on one hand and Pond's on the other. Then they would show it to the customer through a magnifying glass. They showed that Nivea left a greater residue. Pond's responded to the claims. They said they weren't comparing themselves to Nivea. They were just using a blue tub. They asked whether Nivea had a monopoly over the color. Of course, the Pond's argument did not stick. The court said that people do associate Nivea to the color. But it's not about who owns the color blue, it's about using things that define a brand and unfair market practices. Look at some examples. In 2011, Apple sued Samsung. Why? Because Apple said they were copying their design in their Galaxy smartphones. In 2014, Nike sued Adidas. It was for patent infringement. The allegation was that Adidas's running shoes had copied Nike's patented design. Both of these lawsuits were settled out of court. But here's another one. In 2011, Christian Louboutin sued Yves Saint Laurent. Why? Because YSL used red soles. Red soles are a Louboutin staple. It's how the brand grew its identity. So it took YSL to court. But the court did not rule against YSL. They said Louboutin did have a valid trademark for red soles, but only when it contrasted with the whole shoe. So YSL wasn't wrong here, because its entire shoe was red. This tells you about brand rivalries. Brands can be identified by particular colors or looks. In fact, colors are quite a sensitive topic. Companies trademark colors. It gives them exclusive use in the industry. Like the Mattel Barbie pink, the Tiffany blue, the Cadbury purple. You can't use those if you're trying to avoid a lawsuit. People often associate these colors to a particular product. Guess Pond's learnt it the hard way. While they feel the blues, they surely can't use it.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In Georgia, thousands shut down roads to protest against the controversial foreign agent law. In Ukraine, Antony Blinken takes a break from diplomacy to perform at a Kiev bar. And celebrity dog Messi is the first star to walk the red carpet at the 77th Cannes Film Festival. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1948, the first Arab-Israel war broke out. It came just a day after Israel was founded. Troops from 5 Arab states attacked the country, but it was a poorly coordinated campaign. Israel proved to be the stronger force. The war ended in 1949, leaving Israel with control over more territory. We're leaving you on that note. Thanks for watching. We will see you tomorrow.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. South Africa goes to the polls on the 29th of May. I will track the election and bring you ground reports. Is it the end of the road for the African National Congress? And will former President Jacob Zuma stage a dramatic comeback? From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.